time.
On today's episode of Big Time, the podcast, brought to you by the Landscape Supply Center as always. Very, very big time guest on today's episode. We're stepping outside the playing fields, venturing into the world of music. It's going to get exciting. It's going to get big time with Chuck Gagne on today's episode. Let's rock. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of this podcast we call Big Time the podcast. Got a big time show here. Probably the second most famous musician after myself to be on the podcast here. I know some people get nervous in the presence of rock stars. Chuck, are you nervous being in my presence?
I mean, a little shaky. If my voice is shaky, that's why, Tom.
Okay, that's all right. Just kind of breathe and relax. Quick story for you guys too. I don't even know if Chuck remembers this. By the way, we got Chuck Gagne on the episode for today's episode. So me and Chuck used to work at Rocks back in the day, and back when I was in high school, I told him I was going to form a record label, and then he asked me what I was going to call it, and just off the top of the head, I was like, Fella Bunch of Records, and Chuck was the first person I told, and that's how Fella Bunch of Records was formed right there. So.
It's still brilliant.
It's still going. I mean, yeah, I think we peaked back in 2011, but we still got some stuff coming out. So we're coming up on the 10-year reunion of the first album. So there might be a comeback in the works here. We'll see. But
I smell a reunion tour.
Yeah, so we got to make something like that happen. So yeah, we got Chuck Gagne, Fort Kent native, rock star. Do you call yourself a rock star, or like, what do you go by? Like just a musician, drummer boy?
I don't know that anyone refers to themselves as a rock star, and if they do, they're weird. No, yeah, I'm a musician. Yeah, just a musician.
Or what about artist? Do you consider yourself an artist?
Artiste.
I like it. So we're gonna get into what Chuck's doing later on here. We're just gonna kind of go through the years like we always do here, and just sit back, tell some stories. We got some great questions from the fellas for this one. A lot of people excited for Fort Kent's very own Chuck Gagne. Gagne or Gagne? What do you go by?
Oh, it's Gagne, yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Gagne, not NON, you know?
Right. Okay. What about Gagne? Because I've heard that too.
Oh, that's just so gross sounding.
All right. We got that out of the way. That was that was like the big question I had here. So as I mentioned, Fort Kent, born and raised, right, Chuck?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Fort Kent, Soldier Pond.
Soldier Pond?
Yeah, I went to Wallagrass Elementary School for the first up until about I think second grade.
Oh, really?
And then made the move to the big city, Fort Kent.
Yes, I thought you were like born and raised in that same house on Pleasant Street.
Nope, no sir. Right there in Soldier Pond. So
what do we got for family here? You got a couple siblings, right?
Yeah, I got my sister Casey and my brother Corey, both older than myself.
So you were the baby of the family.
Yeah, that's what they say.
But your class of what, 2001, 2002?
2002, yeah.
Yeah, so you came up with a good group. I feel like just a great collection of individuals, both athletes and artistes. You guys were a talented bunch.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. I remember the old rec days, and with everybody. We had my first rec coach was actually Uncle Bob Thibodeau.
Holy
back
shit.
In the day.
Legend.
Yeah, and then I remember Paul Marquis as the coach, and then Neely Joler.
Yep.
And Lonnie.
Yep.
And Corey Thibodeau. I could go through. I remember every single one of them. That's Lucas Levac. Sorry, Lucas Levac too was also a rec coach back in the day.
So growing up, sports were your thing too, right? I mean, you played everything growing up.
Man, I was a great T-ball player for the Purple Grapes. It was unbelievable.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get to our first segment of the podcast. It's called Ethan Asks. And Ethan is still asking, where's the sponsorship for Ethan Asks? Anyway, Ethan, what is your first question for Chuck?
on this edition of Ethan Asks Big Time Questions. Was there a more dominant team that you ever played on than the Purple Grapes T-ball team that we had? Pretty sure we took it to the championship and beat the Black Bears. But go ahead. I'll wait if you can think of something better.
Not a chance. Not a chance. No, I even met previously talking with Tom, man. I talked about the Purple Grapes. I was a switch hitter. I remember kind of, I just big league chew. Purple Grapes all the way. Dynasty.
Yeah. Do you remember who the coach was for the Purple Grapes?
I think it was Neely.
There you go.
I think it was Neely.
Yeah, makes all the sense in the world now.
Yeah. No.
But back to like the rec days, were you the type just to rec in the morning, swimming pool all afternoon, and then at night fucking ride around town on your bike?
You got it, man. Like that's legitimately it, you know.
Were you the type that had the trick bike growing up? What was Dinos?
I had the Dino. Dino from Andre's Ski and Sports Shop, you know?
Yeah. Pegs on the front and the back?
I had pegs in the back, I think, so I could have, friends, and, you got a flat tire? I'll just get on my pegs, bro.
I remember there were dyno gangs back in the day. Like if you didn't have a dyno, you weren't in. Like dynos were the thing back then.
Yeah, if you had the 10-speed bike, it's like, come on, dude.
Yeah. But you see, like where we grew up, where me, Charles, and Sam grew up, we were 2 miles out of town, and there was a hill. So like a dyno bike was not a very good option. So we had the mountain bike because it made more sense. We didn't have the street cred though because of that.
The Al's Tasty Freeze gang.
Yeah, so Al's Tasty Freeze, and then used to post up in front of the movie theater on Friday nights too, right?
Of course.
What else was there for spots in the summertime? Were you the type to go out to, what was it, Stand By Me, Jacuzzi Falls, all that stuff?
All of those things, man. Yeah, and of course, on buddy check at the pool in the afternoon.
Oh,
yeah. Unless you were, scared, y'all went down to the bridge.
Yeah, that's true, right?
Down through that little dip where all those bad kids went to smoke butts, and then watch people jump off the bridge or jump off the bridge yourself.
Yeah. Which type were you? Were you the type to watch, or were you jumping?
I think I jumped off that bridge one time, and I was like, okay, I did it. I'm done.
That was it.
I don't ever want to do that again. Yeah, I just keep my feet on the ground kind of guy.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it. It looks super shady. Like it's always shallow. I don't know why people do that, but it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
All right. So from the rec days to the elementary school days, Fort Kent Elementary School. I'm guessing you just played all the sports, and you were just exposed to all the legendary coaches we had back in the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Travis Delisle is definitely a coach of mine coming up. Who else did I have?
You had to have like Louis at some point, Louis Morrow.
Oh, I sure did. I actually told funny story about Mr. Morrow last night to my aunt. It was so funny. We played this game. Yeah, he was my soccer coach in, I don't know, 6th or 7th grade or something like that. And I remember playing this game in Eagle Lake, and Davis DeShane at the end of the game was picking up all the soccer balls and putting them in that mesh bag. And he goes, he said, Mr. Morrow, I'm only counting 8 balls in here. I thought we had more than that. And Mr. Morrow looked over at him and he said, no, Davis, if we had any more than 8 balls, we'd all be walking funny. I don't know why that's still, I never forgot that.
I feel like everyone I've talked to who had Mr. Morrow as a coach always has like just one of those stories, like just something that he said that you always remember.
Little one-liners, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm guessing, did you have him as a teacher too?
I did in 6th grade, yeah.
Yeah, and just same thing. Like he'd say like one thing every day. You just,
Mr. Morrow, can I go get a drink? You're too young to drink.
Who else did you have? You mentioned you had Minzy as a coach. Actually, I know you had Minzy as a coach because my 5th grade year, my first year playing middle school basketball, you were our guy on the Green Warriors, and we had Coach Minzy. You were our go-to. You were the franchise player.
Man, that team probably didn't do very well then.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, definitely had Mins. I know I had Mins, and I know that I had Tom Tom. Sorry, the Tom Levac. What the heck? Tim Levac.
Tim Levac.
Yeah, was a coach of mine in soccer. I think for a couple of years. But I can't remember the rest of, like, I know I played baseball, but I don't remember who my coaches were because my memory.
Everyone I ask, I always ask them what they remember from traveling to St. Francis, whether soccer or basketball. What do you remember about going to St. Francis in middle school? Like, what's the one thing that comes to mind when I say St. Francis middle school athletics?
Oh my God, Nick Thibodeau and his old man Gary Thibodeau. That's instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Playing basketball in that gym up there in St. Francis and how loud it could get between their fans, in a basketball game, and then how loud Gary's voice could actually carry through that gym, telling Nick how to post up or all this stuff. And man, what a time.
Those were fun days though, because they were good. They had Tibbs and they had Cody Daigle and like a young Dustin Netta.
Dude's forming his armbar days,
It was just a fun time back in the day.
Unbelievable.
Did you gravitate towards one sport more, or were you just the type like, I'm gonna play it all. That's what everyone's doing. I'm here to have fun.
Soccer. Soccer was the one.
Any highlights from middle school soccer? Any championships?
Man, yeah, yep. Championships in sixth grade. I know that it was on the Cosmos. We won the championship, and I think my seventh grade year too at the Green Warriors. I'm not 100% sure, man, but I do remember Travis Delisle making me play through what I thought at the time was the worst sprained ankle I'd ever got. We were in St. Francis and it was a playoff game, and I rolled it. I remember I rolled it bad, and he was just like, "You gotta fight through it, you gotta be tough." And he's right. He was right, and I did. I got through it. I got through the game, and at the end of it, he gave me this big high five. And then turns out that it was just a little strain there. It was nothing real big. So thank you, Travis. You taught me well.
Did you respond well to his style of coaching, or were you more the type, where you didn't need someone jumping down your neck?
A little bit of both. There was definitely times with Travis where I just wanted to lose it on him, but also in hindsight, I have always appreciated Travis's style of coaching.
Yeah.
Because he's effective.
He's won at every level.
He's won at every level, and he's just a really, really, really down to earth and a good dude. And nothing's personal. He just really wants the best out of everybody.
Absolutely. Before we transition to high school athletics, probably the peak of your athletic career, I'm guessing, high school. Before we do that, though, let's talk about music, because I'm guessing you were in the band program, Mr. Kennedy, middle school, right?
Oh my God! Yeah, I was.
So, did you pick up the drums for the first time, like once band became a thing, or were you playing before that?
I was definitely playing before that. There was from as long as I can remember, there were drums in my house because my brother Corey is a drummer as well. So back from when I was like 3 years old, and I was trying to get on his drum set, but I couldn't reach the pedals. There's foot pedals down there on a drum set, and I was too short, so I couldn't reach the pedals. So my bro got me a snare drum. I actually think that he might have just accidentally taken it from the high school, and it ended up in our basement. And so I played on just the snare drum for a really, really long time as a kid. And then by the time I was 5 or 6, I could reach the pedals on the drum set, so I started playing that, and so I played all throughout my childhood. I never really got formal lessons or anything. I just would sit and watch my brother play with his pal Aaron Bernstein, who I'm sure everyone knows. He's still up there up at UMFK, and a musician himself. So yeah, I just sat and listened, and I still call those two the original White Stripes, by the way, because they were just drums and guitar sitting in a basement playing in like the 80s.
Just jamming out.
Yeah, playing all kinds of stuff. So, a lot by just sitting and watching, and by the time I got into grade school, into 5th grade, where you could join band, they make you start, if you're a percussionist, they make you start with like the bells, like a xylophone thing.
Oh wow.
And
Okay.
I remember being just so distraught and like, what the hell are these? These aren't drums,
Yeah.
So then I had to, they tried to get me to learn to read music and all that stuff, and I might have some regrets there, and not paying much attention to any of that, and just kind of going with my own, marching to the beat of my own drum.
I like that. Okay.
So yeah, I played in all the bands, but I never really excelled in any of that because it involves reading music and having a lot of discipline, and that was never really my thing.
It's because you're a rock star. You're a goddamn rock star. You don't need to read shit.
It's more of an attitude,
Okay,
rock and roll is more of an attitude than it is a genre.
Right. Yeah, I know that. I'm a rock star myself. I know that.
I love it.
What other bands were there? Because there was there was jazz band, right? There was like All Rustic. There's a bunch of different shit, right?
Concert band, yeah.
Concert band.
Yeah.
Did you get
when you
pumped
get
up?
to high school, it's like a pep band,
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yes. Did you
Go
get
for it, pep.
Did you get pumped up for concerts? Like, oh yeah, here comes my fucking solo. I'm gonna nail it. Or were you just like, oh god, this stuff is so dry?
I mean,
were you like Nick Cannon? Were you like Nick Cannon in Drumline, who just went off script and did your own thing?
I mean, Nick Cannon basically built that character off of me.
I can see it now. Now that you tell me like the origins of your drumming career, it all makes sense.
You know what I mean? He actually called me about it. Yeah. No, I always took it seriously, but never too seriously. I don't remember much about nerves or anything like that. I definitely would be more nervous about the athletic part of anything, because I trusted my skill behind the drum kit way more than anything on a field or a court.
Right. Let's transition to high school here, and we'll bang out the athletics, and then we'll come back to the music stuff here. So. High school. Did you ski in high school?
Oh yeah. And not on the ski team, and probably I may have been more effective on the ski team than I ever was on the basketball court, because I think I played basketball up until sophomore year.
Yeah, and you said it wasn't for you. You said
I just I realized I'd probably be more effective as someone in the stands heckling the opposing team and the referees.
Yeah,
and turns out that was true.
But you did play soccer, and you played on some pretty good damn soccer teams here during your 4 years, right? So did you make varsity freshman year or sophomore year?
I think that I was pushed up. I think that I know that the last few games of the year, I think I played a couple of varsity games, but sophomore year for sure is when I made the varsity team for like the full season, but also I kind of shifted in positions. I was always an offensive player, and come sophomore year, I think that Mins was looking for some people to fill in on the flanks and the back. So I volunteered myself because I just wanted to play.
Yep.
So I became a defender then, and stayed there.
With one Charles Bard, right? You guys were out
back.
Back?
Oh yeah, Charlie Bard out back, and I think that actually that my first year on the team, I think that Ben Raymond was the keeper.
Yeah, it would have been Ben.
And yeah, so Scott, Scott was the stopper back. And, Casey Bushi trying on the other flank.
Shout out Casey right there, right? But, yeah, you guys were talented, though, right? So, I mean, that was the defense. But who else did you guys have up front? You had Antoine. Antoine was in your class.
Antoine and Cody Daigle.
Yep, little speedster.
Yeah. Kirk Levac.
Trying to think who else there was.
Kirk Levac, Justin Dubois.
Yep.
Man, I mean, Lance Morin.
Oh yeah, Lance, it's true.
Yeah, Lance had himself a couple of hat tricks.
Did Lance have a goal celebration? Did he have like a little thing he did?
I think he just ran really fast with his arm in the air afterward.
Nice, it's classic right there.
No one was more nonchalant with their goal scoring than Kirk and Anthony, though.
Yeah, you probably didn't even know they scored, right? They were
These
just like,
guys just putting balls in the back of the net like nobody's business, and then just walking away like nothing happened.
yeah. Talk to me about the coaching staff. So Minzy was the head coach. Who'd you guys have for an assistant?
Mins was the head coach. For the first couple of years, it was Paul Marquis.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I'm not even going to remember his name, but he taught phys ed there for a minute. I don't remember. He had like spiky blonde hair though. Someone else is going to have to help me with that. I don't remember who the other guy was, but I think it was just my junior and senior year. He was the assistant coach.
Okay.
I don't remember.
You got any good Minzy stories?
It's terrible that I don't, but I really don't remember.
That's all right. I mean, you're a rock star. Stuff happens. You have any good Minzy stories for us? So what was Minzy like as a coach? And how about this? Did any of your athletic coaches? I'm guessing Minzy's probably like the most influential coach you had. Do any of these guys, do they translate to life off the field and into your musicianship?
Coaching wise?
Yeah, like anything they said or anything they prepared you, the way they prepared you, anything like that. Does it translate off the field?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it does. Like the thing is that in athletics, you're competitive as hell, and that's the whole idea. And in music, the goal is to just not be competitive, but to still practice and skill and excelling. And then there's times to practice, and then there's times to perform. And in a game, you're performing, and in a show, you're doing the same exact thing. But the whole idea is to just keep positive and you kind of maintain focus throughout. So not get distracted, and not let outside influences bother you or affect whatever you're doing. So yeah, there's some things, but mostly the balance is to take away the competitive aspect of it, and that's hard.
Yeah,
sometimes it's really hard.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna get to another round of Ethan Asks big time questions.
What is your best Minzy story? I think all of us that have played for him have an undying respect for him. He's the best coach I've ever had, and I'm pretty sure most people that have played for him could probably say the same thing. So you have a unique perspective because you're related to him. You've seen him outside of the soccer field and in different situations. So what's the best Minzy story that you have?
I think to pick just one it's really, really difficult. But I can tell you about my favorite thing about talking with Mins, having Mins as my uncle, is having that angle there, is that anytime he's around, growing up, and then even now, like anytime he's around, my favorite thing is listening to Mins reminisce about his days as a coach in Fort Kent and all the players and all of the specific games or scenarios and situations. Just having that kind of at my beck and call at any time he's around is my favorite thing about Mins being, just hearing him speak of, in general, his days in Fort Kent as a coach and through the generations of teams and players that he's coached.
I'm glad you brought that up because we've been trying to get Minzy on the podcast now for a little while, and we haven't made it happen yet. So I'm going to need you to start working that for us.
I sure will.
Start plugging that for us. We'll see if we can make that happen. We've been trying to make that happen for a while. So
I'm definitely going to put you guys in contact.
I like it. That'd be a great episode. Yeah. That'd be a legendary episode.
I couldn't agree more, man. I can't believe it hasn't happened yet.
Yep, let's make that happen.
The funny thing is that I think that honestly, where the drums come from in my family, because Dave Minzy's my uncle, and so he is in my family, and I believe it was long before I was born, but my older brother as a kid really got into the drums because Uncle Dave Minzy had a drum kit and was a drummer.
Learning something new on Big Time right now. Okay.
Yeah. So he's the drummer, man. That's actually where it started. And Mins is actually a badass drummer. He's really good. And so that's where the drums kind of entered my family, and Corey was playing them, and then of course, like I was saying earlier, I watched my brother play and all that stuff. So translating out of sports and into my life post high school, he was definitely and still is involved in my life as a drummer, because Mins comes to see some shows that I play in. Mins and his wife Karen, they come. My aunt Karen, they come to see shows around in Southern Maine that I play, and also still every time I see him, that's what we talk about it a lot. He talks about drums and he talks about his old kit, and he talks about like what style of music I'm playing these days, or like what kind of drums I'm using, new cymbals and all this stuff. So it's really really cool. Like I've always been able to talk to Mins about athletics and music. So it's a cool balance.
Did you have a hard time having him as a coach just because you had to turn off the Uncle Dave thing and be like Coach Minzy instead?
Not at all. Not at all. In fact, I loved it because he was the one who was really good at that.
Yeah.
Like he was he was very much so my coach, and not my uncle during practices and games. But the second that the game was over, and it was the weekend, we were all at at the camp on the lake or something like that, then he was Uncle Dave again.
Nice.
It was really really cool.
All right, another round of Ethan Asks Big Time questions. Ethan, what is your question?
I don't think I've ever seen somebody get bag tagged by a soccer ball as many times as you did. Seriously, it happened like every fucking practice. In games too. Why didn't you ever buy a cup? I don't think you ever wore a cup for practice or games. You just continued to get bag tagged. Maybe you enjoyed it.
Did you,
Ethan? How do you know I wasn't wearing a cup? That's all I'm going to say about that.
All right. Wow, hard hitting questions on Big Time. Were you a good skier?
I was a decent skier. I found myself over at the pit a couple of times.
So
doing jumps with Dave Roy and Nate Sear.
Yeah, so you the type that used to spend the weekends over at Lonesome Pines and just
absolutely
tearing it up. I don't even know if that's what you say. Is that even a ski thing? Like tearing up the slopes?
Yeah, I know, shredding gnarly powder, bro.
There we go. That's what it is. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So you were busy in high school. I mean, skied, played soccer, did the music thing, had an incredible job over at the best diner in the entire world at Rock's Family Diner.
It's the truth.
When did you stop to breathe? Like, when did you have free time?
Well, free time is not necessarily good for me. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe when I slept, and I played, besides like the school band, I had like a band that I played in like around town or at at midnight skis sometimes.
Yeah, so I want to go back and trace back the history of your basically your band membership. So what was the first band you were in? Like the band I can think of the furthest back was the Crisco Babies. Were you one of those guys?
I was one of those dudes. Yeah.
Okay, so was that your first band?
It wasn't.
Oh shit. Okay.
It's actually the second one. The first band that I played in was in junior high. I think I was 11, and we formed it. It was Nathan Sear, Romaine Charette, and a dude named Kyle Jervis, who
I remember Kyle Jervis.
Yeah, you didn't remember Kyle. So Kyle's still down here. He moved to Southern Maine, I think, in the fall of '97 or something like that, '98. But he up until that point, he was for a couple of years there. We were a band of young punks that played a bunch of grunge music, and we had a few original songs, but we were called Ziploc.
Oh, that's what the first one was. I remember that name. Ziploc.
And I mean, anyone who was in school with us at Fort Kent Elementary School up there on C Wing had the whiteout pen marking on the back of their LL Bean backpacks. Everyone wrote Ziploc rules, like cool kids. It was like, man, we were so cool back then.
What was Did you guys?
Jenkos and chain wallets, you know.
Oh man, the days right there. Were you guys actually performing as the Ziploc kids?
We did. We performed a couple of. We performed. Well, I remember performing at the pool at the public pool there outside for one of the rec parties thing that happened. I remember playing at the skating rink. I remember playing in the gym at the elementary school for some sort of ceremony or something that was happening in there. And I remember Mr. Medor, getting real upset at all the kids for jumping around and partying because he was scared that someone was going to get hurt because we just I don't know. I remember saying like, "Can you guys just stand up?" Because everyone was sitting down watching us like we were some sort of painting in a museum. I was like, "Can you guys get up and dance around?" You know, like I'm just I was sixth grade or something, and they started doing it, and they just it was I think a Red Hot Chili Peppers song we were playing or something like that, and kids started bouncing around, going crazy, like a little mini kind of sixth grade mosh pit.
Yep.
And Mr. Medor just stopped the music. He came over to the mic and he stopped it. He's like, "Yeah, everybody's gotta sit down. Y'all sit down right now." And it was just like, wow. That was our first rebel experience. I felt like I was Jim Morrison or something.
So from there, I went to the Crisco Babies. That was the second band.
Yeah. We kind of after Kyle moved away. My buddy Frank Hopkins, who is still a really close friend of mine, had this band with a couple of his buddies, Nick Marquis and a few other people, but they were kind of dismantling. So we kind of merged the two bands, Romaine and Nate and myself, kind of merged with Frank and Nick Marquis and formed what would be known as, or continuing to be known as, the Crisco Babies from that point on. And we still played, midnight skis and stuff like that. But we'd also go into Canada. I remember going to Canada and playing these like Battle of the Bands shows, and there used to be this club type deal in Presque Isle called Wizards.
Back in the day.
And I remember playing lots of gigs there too. But found ourselves often opening for real Valley rock stars, Empty Head.
Oh, was that Doug Clapp's band?
It sure is, my man.
Yeah, so that's not a bad group to open for right there.
Yeah, with opening for Empty Head over at the Skeeto.
God, those were the days, weren't they?
Unbelievable.
Were you guys getting paid, or was it more like you just wanted to play music and you didn't care?
I mean, both. We were probably getting paid. I mean, a really joke amount, like probably getting $50 or something, $100.
Splitting it 4 ways or 5 ways, or
yeah, or just like going to buy a new microphone the next day or something.
Yeah,
we'd keep pooling the money together to keep doing whatever we were doing.
So, is that who you were with throughout high school? Right there was the Crisco Babies.
Yeah, I played in that band throughout high school, and then once I was out of high school, I mean, I did 1 year at UMFK, and it wasn't really playing much music, and then moved to Southern Maine, went to USM, and that's when I met a guy named Dominic Lavoie, who's from Madawaska, and I didn't even know Dom at all until I moved to Southern Maine, which is kind of funny. But that's when and I think Nate moved at the same time to Southern Maine, so we all met and formed a band called Dominic and the Lucid that we had for a long time, and that's where the Southern Maine like music thing started for me.
All right, so let's make the transition to Southern Maine here. So you spent 1 year at UMFK and then moved down to the Portland area. Were you going to school down there, or just working and just chasing the music thing? Or let me ask you this: at any point, were you just like, you know what, I'm just going to chase this the music thing, and that's what I want to do? Or was it always like, it's just a hobby and I'll do it on the side and do it when I can?
No, there was definitely a decision made.
Yeah. And
it wasn't long after I moved. I was still in school, and I was studying. I was at this program. It was basically a communications program that I was in, and I liked it plenty. But I found myself focusing less and less on my schooling and more on the band that I was playing in. And when we were rehearsing, all I wanted to do was was be with those guys and work on new material. And I mean, we were practicing sometimes before class in the morning. You know, we'd get together at 8 in the morning and start making music, and then had to break for an 11 o'clock class, and then we'd come back after class and come back to rehearsal and back to writing and stuff. But there was definitely a period in time where I said, that's it, and this is what I want to do. And I worked odd jobs here and there, but I remember the day where I said that I'm literally just going to play and get as many gigs as possible around Portland, even though some of them are cover gigs or wedding gigs or whatever. Play with as many people as possible to earn my living.
Were there some rough times, or
oh yeah, and there still are sometimes, but they haven't stopped continuing. There always will be hard times, but they get easier as the years have gone on. There are gigs that I no longer have to play.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, it seems like you've always been at least doing something. Like I feel like I've always, heard from people that Chuck's doing this or Chuck's doing that. So it sounds like you haven't had a shortage of stuff going on, but maybe just not the type of gigs you're looking for.
Well, back in the earlier years of getting started, yeah, there was definitely and like I said to any musician that is younger than me coming into this scene down here, I always say, like, you literally have to say yes to everything. If someone offers you a gig, you say yes. You just do it. You say yes until you don't have to say yes anymore. And then eventually you're going to find yourself in positions where you can now choose the gigs that you want and the shows that you want and the people that you want to work with. You develop relationships and all that stuff. So yeah, I think I can confidently say that I'm at a point now where I don't have to say yes all the time.
How would you describe the music scene in Portland?
It's vibrant. There's a lot of musicians. There's a lot of places to play. They're almost more so than there are people to come watch. Like sometimes it's a toss up between two different clubs and different bands that are playing, and then you got bigger venues that are having like these national acts coming through and stuff. So there's a lot of competition, not necessarily in the playing of but the competition into pulling fans from one place to another, and just advertising and all of that stuff. So it's a very healthy and supportive scene. Everyone kind of just helps each other out and really supports here.
Yeah, it seems like too, like Portland is just at a point like where everything else in Portland, like Portland's kind of taking off right now. And It seems like the music scene's like that too, where you're getting all these different venues that are kind of popping up and bigger names coming through and stuff like that. And it just seems like it's a really good time down there music wise.
It really is. And also, it's a good opportunity to get the music scene here on the map nationally. So a lot of the bands, a handful of bands from around here spend most of their time outside of Maine and touring throughout the country, which I've done, that like some of the bands that I'm playing with, like I spend a lot of time on the road. I'm actually not in Portland very much. And that's because of the amount of work that the local scene has put into, kind of advancing the bands from Maine outside of the state and into the rest of the country and world. And people are taking notice.
So let's go back. So you mentioned when you first got down here, you hooked up with Dom and you guys started doing your thing. How long did that last for?
Oh man, several years, 10 years actually, on and off, but 10 years. We put out four records. The last one being, I think, in 2015 or 15 maybe. When Nate moved away. Nate's out in Colorado now as a ski patrol. But right up until then, we were making records. We never really did much touring. We played around. This is Southern Maine and New England. But we were a kind of a hard sell. The music was not necessarily accessible to everybody. So we always found ourselves whenever we were on bills with different other bands, we always kind of find ourselves as like the black sheep because no one could really pinpoint exactly what type of music we were playing or what, because kind of psychedelic is kind of poppy, is rocky, but it's also like a singer-songwriter aspect to it. So it's like kind of a mesh of a bunch of musical influences.
Yeah, so that's what I want to ask you about. So when it comes time, like when you're in a group and you guys start making your own music, obviously it's got to be a collaborative thing from lyrics to the beat and all this stuff. And I'm guessing everybody has their own influences and stuff they like. So like, what's the process for you guys to put together something?
Well, it's a lot of there's a lot of sacrifice. Being in a band is kind of like being in a relationship with three or four other people. And so like any relationship, you gotta make sacrifices because you can't always get exactly what you want, in order for it to work. You're making like adjustments, and communication is key. So yeah, people bring different ideas to the table, and they might not be exactly what you envision the song being, or envision the record being, or any, whatever it is. But you got to everybody's got to hear each other out and communicate about it. So it's a lot of times, yeah, man, it can turn into, I'm not going to say an argument, but a heated debate about anything from, I think that this there should be a keyboard part here, or I don't think that this should happen here. I don't want you to sing here, or things like that. And sometimes it works out, and sometimes it just explodes. Who knows?
That's why I chose to be a rapper, because I just write my 16 and that's it. My 16 bars, say my piece, and that's it. I don't gotta ask anybody about anything. Just do my thing, and then I'm out.
Well, hey man, I'm penciling that down right now, because if there's ever a situation where we need someone for 16 bars, I'll just be like, there's this dude that I know that is going to come in quietly and do this and then leave.
Yeah, exactly. Just give me the beat, give me my chance to put my thoughts down. I'll give you 16 and I'm out.
All right. That's cheap too, because if we're paying by the hour.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even care about the money. I just want stuff on wax, as they say, right? I want stuff on wax, and I'm good. Plus, and I'm ready for a comeback too. I've been quiet for about 10 years now. It's time for a comeback track. So
I said, a comeback tour.
I keep teasing it. We'll see if it happens. But yeah. So what happened after that group then? So that was around 2015. After
the Lucid kind of dismantled, I started taking a lot of gigs with. I played in a cover band, which is you just playing other people's songs. I played a lot of bar gigs around Portland.
What cover band, or who were you guys covering?
I mean everything from, classic rock to modern, like pop hits, to funk, soul, jammy, whatever we needed to play to keep people inside the bar, and or function hall. Like we played a lot of corporate, functions, private parties, weddings, a lot of weddings, a ton of weddings.
Yeah.
And but that kept me very, very busy, especially in the summer months. A lot of weddings, but a lot of stuff like down on Commercial Street here in Portland, like Portland Lobster Company is a big place where they have music all day, every day, and they pay well, and people put out a tip jar and all that stuff. So there was summers where I was playing 5, 6, sometimes 7 days a week, sometimes 2 shows a day. But I wasn't really getting anything creatively out of it. I wasn't writing any of these parts. I wasn't writing any music. I wasn't in a recording studio. I wasn't on the road with a group of dudes. So I did it for a couple of years, and was able to make a decent amount of a livable amount of money for that to be my actual job. And but then I got a little sick of it, started to get burnt out with playing just cover songs and then playing in shitty bars all over the place. So I ended up getting like this day job for a minute, and I hated it. And then I ran into a friend of mine, Will Mallett, who's of the Mallett Brothers band, and at Bissell Brothers at a brewery, and he was talking about how their drummer was leaving, and they were looking someone to fill the void. And I I was working this day job that I couldn't stand. So I said, "Hey man, I'm willing to try it out if you're interested." And he kind of was he was under the impression that I was still playing with all kinds of different people and busy. And then when he realized that I wasn't really doing much drumming wise, he was like, "Are you kidding? Are you down?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm down." So then I became the drummer for the Mallet Brothers band for a couple of years and did that. And those guys really, really, really taught me the road.
Yeah. So where are the Mallet Brothers from anyway?
The Mallet Brothers themselves are from Sebec, Maine. So they went to Dover Foxcroft High School Academy,
And they're doing pretty well for themselves, right?
Yeah, they sure are. They're still they tour all over the country and pretty extensively actually. I wish I could give you the amount of miles that I sat in that van over the last couple of years with those dudes. It's pretty intense. But there's just a handful of states that I have not been to at this point, and it's all because I joined that band.
How would you describe their sound?
It's kind of like outlaw country. It's more like it's a I think at this point it's a perfect blend of rock and roll and country music. I would call it Southern rock, but it's really hard to describe. There's some folk influence because I don't know if anyone knows this, but their dad is kind of a legendary folk artist. His name is David Mallet, and he wrote some pretty popular tunes back in his day. He had some record deals out in Nashville, and he sold a couple of songs to people like John Denver and Joni Mitchell and stuff like that. So he did really well, and those guys continuing his namesake kind of have that folk influence, but they've incorporated a lot of rock and roll and kind of they've kind of created their own genre,
That question wasn't so much for me. It was more so for the audience here, Chuck. And I'll tell you why. Because I also moonlight as a wedding DJ.
Get out of town.
Yeah, moonlight as a wedding DJ. So I know how you feel when it comes to the monotony of doing the same shit over and over again when you do cover band stuff. Because that's what I do at weddings. It's the same shit over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But the money's good, so I do it. But,
That's right.
But besides the point. Anyway, so I had a wedding this summer, and I was asking them what they wanted for dinner music, stuff like that. And they mentioned the Mallet Brothers, and I was like, "Oh, cool shit!" Little fun fact: I know the drummer, so that was it was pretty neat. It was pretty neat. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's crazy. I mean, I don't know if you know this. It's not really necessarily public news yet, but I guess it'll be public now. Because I actually
hold on. Are we breaking news right now?
We might be.
I've been trying to break a story through Big Time for about a year now. Here we go. Breaking news from Big Time, the podcast. Chuck, make the announcement.
I've got a new venture. There's a new drumming venture here.
Let's hear it.
Well, I'm not with the Mallet Brothers band anymore. I've joined a new band, and they're also from Maine. They're from the Southern Maine area, but they're called the Ghost of Paul Revere.
I've heard of those guys too.
Yeah, and I've been working with these guys for the past month here. We're working on a brand new record right now. So, in fact, I'm supposed to be in the studio today with them, but the producer and engineer, or co-producer and engineer of the record, name is Jonathan Wyman, is stuck in Los Angeles right now because all flights to Portland are canceled because of this snowstorm.
And you also asked him to push it today because you had this lined up and you.
Well,
they understood. They said, "Oh, Big Time. Okay, yeah, that's Big Time, Chuck." All right,
that sounds legit. Let's postpone this $700 day so Chuck can do his podcast.
What's life in the studio like? So you mentioned that you guys are going to be hitting the studio probably tomorrow now, right? If
we'll be there the rest. I'll be there the rest of the week. Yeah.
So what are studio sessions like?
Well, at this point right now, there's a lot of sitting around and kind of dissecting what we did in the weeks prior. So but in the first throes of it, in the first days going in, it's very, very, very drum intensive. So that you kind of want to lay down. You can't really build off of a song until your drums and bass and those core rhythm instruments are established. And then, you bring in guitars and vocals and then overdubbing and auxiliary percussion and strings and horns and all of these things that you could incorporate into a song. But you can't really do that until drums and bass and like kind of like keyboards or whatever are established as a basis, a foundation, if you will,
Right.
of the tune. So the first few days of recording are always usually very intense for me, and they were in this case. I spent pretty much 12 hours a day for 3 days straight, just playing over and over and over again, playing to different sometimes different beats per minute. So some tempo is changing, and we're going to try it this way. We're going to try this one as a waltz instead. We're going to try this differently. So just a lot of different styles and a lot of different ideas that are being tossed around. So and you got to be on your toes for all of it, because it's not a cheap endeavor being in a studio all day. It's a very expensive thing to do. So time is of the essence, and like I said, nothing can really move forward musically until I am like my parts are done and everyone's satisfied with them. So the first few days are always pretty intense.
You're kind of a big deal then.
Well, kind of big time, Tom.
There you go. That's what I was waiting for right there. Let me ask you this: your favorite part of musicianship, the creative part of getting the song put together, or is it the actual recording of it, or I'm guessing it's an easy answer, or performing it?
There's no question performing it. My favorite is absolutely my favorite. It's the energy of a crowd and being on a stage, the lights and all that stuff. And I question it sometimes, like, why do I like this so much? Is it because I love the fact that people are cheering for what we're doing? I don't really know why I like it so much, but there's this, I can give you 100% that is my favorite part. Is that the performance has always been, and I think will always be my favorite part. Yeah.
Do you have like a career moment? Like what's like the coolest thing you've done through music, or maybe like the peak, or just your favorite memory in your you're going on like 30 years of musicianship here, right?
Yeah, I guess I am.
Yeah.
Well, there are a couple. I mean, I guess most recently, we've had, I've always been might name drop a little bit here, but I've always been a real big fan of the band Fish, and so even, back in the day when they were even coming to Limestone for those festivals and stuff, and I was a young buck, but I was still going to those shows, and always loved the band and what their idea of like a live show was. And luckily enough, in my time with the Mallet Brothers Band, through a series of events, we ended up coming in contact with John Fishman, who's the drummer of the band Fish, and he actually lives in Maine. They live in Lincolnville. They have a general store out there and stuff, and he's part of the local like town council or something. But anyway, he his wife, we were playing a show in New York City, and his wife showed up at our show, and it's while they were doing this big long tenure that they were doing at Madison Square Garden, and we happened to be just playing across the street, and his wife came to the show, and she really really liked what she was hearing, and she was like so into it, and bought a bunch of our merchandise and stuff, and then gave us all put us all on the guest list to go see Fish at Madison Square Garden. So we went to see him, and then we started developing this like relationship with her and him, and she kind of really like was like that. I think that he might like play some shows with you guys if you want, if you guys want to like do like two drummers. So then we did a couple of shows with him, and it worked out really really cool. We did like the grand opening of their store in Lincolnville, and it was awesome. There's so many people there. It was crazy because he's the drummer for Fish, and people know that, and people Fish fans are like kind of rabid fans. They just flock to wherever Fish is. So then we booked a whole tour with him. So we did last May. I went on an entire like 2-week tour over the northeast of the United States with fucking John Fishman, the drummer for Fish, in the band van, and we exchanged stories, and he was just telling me, he told us all kinds of stuff that I could never repeat to anybody. Yeah. And just like living in going to friggin', hotel room parties post show, like with Fishman, or like staying up till the sunrises and having these crazy, crazy opportunities to just hang with this. I mean, for me, a personal hero, but also like a dude that will inevitably be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, like one of the most legendary touring bands of all time. Like, so personally, that's a huge highlight. It was to play drums alongside my hero for night after night after night, and just like now considering him a friend and pal, and I text back and forth with the dude, and we crack jokes and stuff. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, but part of you, the competitive side, is gonna be like, "Fuck this guy. He's not playing drums on stage with me. This is my stage."
Not a chance. Not a chance. If anything, it was just more like you do whatever you want. And that's the thing, man, is that he's the most humble and down to earth, and like everything about that whole thing on the road with him was like he would tell me, man, you do your thing, and I'm just gonna try and highlight what you're doing. I'm not here to take over. I don't want any the attention to be on me, and inevitably it is, because he's John Fishman, and everyone was like showing up to these shows. Suddenly the attendance at our shows all over the country started like doubling and tripling, because we had the drummer for Fish, for crying out loud.
Yeah, that's not bad though. That's not bad.
It was really cool. It was really cool. And then there was one of the shows that we played. We played in Burlington, which is where that band is from, or Fish is from. They're from Vermont, and we played at Higher Ground in Burlington, and with him, and the place was slammed. And then I'm upstairs in the green room. We're kind of hanging out, and I look up, and he's got it's the bass player Mike Gordon and the keyboard player Paige McConnell, all the Fish, like coming in and like introducing themselves and saying hello, and then staying for the entire show and watching us play. It was just kind of surreal.
That is pretty crazy right there, though.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a quick little rapid fire here, and I'm gonna have to go back and edit this because I'm gonna probably have to think about some of these questions here. But we'll do a quick little rapid fire for Chuck, the drummer boy.
All right.
Favorite venue to always come home to and playing?
Oh man, my favorite venue in Portland is, I gotta say, you talk about Portland, you talk about Northern Maine.
We'll say Portland. I'm guessing Portland's like home for you, so we'll say Portland.
Yeah, I have to say, I haven't played there very much, but I'm just gonna have to say the State Theater. It's old. There's a lot of energy in there. There's a lot of history there, and I did I was lucky enough to play some Beatles tribute night that they do every single year here in Portland. I did that for 7 or 8 years, and when you are on a stage at the State Theater and it's a sold out show, and there really is nothing like that. I've never been anywhere where I felt that type of energy.
How about dream venue? What's the one place you would love to play if given the opportunity?
Red Rocks.
Where's Red Rock? I'm not familiar.
Red Rocks is out in Colorado. It's in just outside of Denver. It's a huge natural amphitheater.
Oh, yes.
Up in the whole thing, because it's absolutely gorgeous, and you're basically playing inside like a giant cavern, and it's gorgeous. Besides that, shoot high, like that's I'm really shooting high there, but everyone wants to play the greatest stage in the world, which is Madison Square Garden. Everyone wants to do that. So there.
Absolutely. How about if you could if one band asked you to come fill in for them for one night and one night only, what band would you want to fill in and play drums for?
Fish.
Okay, that was an easy one. Favorite?
It'll never happen, but that would be it.
Favorite hotel to stay at on the road?
Favorite hotel? Okay. For the price and the service and the cleanliness and the consistency, I'm gonna have to go and say La Quinta.
And they got a great continental breakfast too, don't they?
They really, really do. I'm so over continental breakfasts. I'm done.
I bet. Longest amount of time in the car consecutively on a road trip?
Oh my God. We drove from Austin, Texas to Arcata, California, which is the northern California, nonstop. I think we stopped. We rented one room for showers and everyone's bathroom break. We were there for probably 5 hours. So we ate lunch, took showers, and we like kind of did our laundry or whatever, and we're back in the van and on the road. So I think it was 36 hours, dude. Like it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. That's literally halfway across the country.
That is crazy.
Dodging wildfires, and they had to take the Pacific Coast Highway to get up there because none of the interstates were open. It was crazy.
How about the weirdest thing thrown on stage?
The weirdest thing thrown on stage. I've had a stuffed beaver thrown on stage. I've also had a T-shirt of my face thrown on stage. Like someone made a T-shirt with my face on it and threw it at me, which is really weird because I really don't get it. And you know, it's happened. There has been, a couple or 2-3 bras been thrown up there, but that's just still weird to me.
That's the life of a rock star right there, right?
Yeah,
That's the life.
They're usually not the
Not the bras you want.
They're a little, yeah. That's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah. Shit, I had a good one. What was the other one? Oh yeah, what's like you mentioned all your cover days back in the day, being in cover bands. What's like the song that you would roll your eyes to the most? Like, what's the one song you don't want to play that just kept constantly coming up?
Wagon Wheel.
Wagon Wheel. Okay.
And by the end of our days as a cover band, people would say, "Well, Freebird or Sweet Home Alabama or Wagon Wheel." If they said that, we're like, "Yeah, no problem, $100." And people did it. Sometimes people played it. And if people are going to pay you $100 to play Wagon Wheel, then you play Wagon Wheel.
Yeah, that's how it is too. Like when I DJ too, like they'll be like, "No, keep going." I'll be like, $200, and I'll stick around for another hour. And they're like, "All right, here you go." And I'm like, "Oh,
that's exactly it."
Okay, what do you guys want? Some more Pitbull. Let's do it. All right, we're gonna get to another round of Ethan Asks Big Time questions on Big Time the podcast.
All right, we're gonna go a little bit against the grain here. Obviously, we're typically a sports podcast, but considering your musical background and achievements, who would be an all-star band that you would love to play with? Could be anybody alive or dead. Who would it be?
Well, I mentioned Fish earlier, but I could. Man, Zeppelin. I guess is he? Does he want me to combine other players?
Yes, let's do like a dream team. So like, give us like a singer, a guitar player, a bassist, and a drummer. Is that all you need for a band?
I mean, you don't even need a drummer. Bluegrass bands don't have drummers.
Okay,
that's why I don't like bluegrass. Just joking. Anyway,
let's go traditional. Let's go with a traditional lineup here.
Okay, so bass drums, guitar, and singer.
Yeah.
And I'm not in the band. I just want to see them.
I think he said you could play with them.
I'll double drum. Okay, double drumming. Yeah. So I've already double drummed with Fishman, so I've just keys out. Too bad, John. Sorry. I would go with John Bonham, drummer for Led Zeppelin. If I could bring him back from the dead, that would be him. So John Bonham, guitar player. Man, that's a little tough. Stevie Ray Vaughan. Bass player. Ooh, man, I might have to go with John Paul Jones, also from Led Zeppelin. And a singer. Okay, that's a tough one. Here we go. Ooh, Prince.
Okay. Oh wow, what a lineup!
Yeah,
that's not who I would have picked for the singer.
Well, too bad the question wasn't for you, Tom.
Good. That's a good question, though, Ethan. I like that.
That's a really good question. Yeah, you stumped me a little bit there.
Yep. That's what Ethan does. Ethan asks the hard-hitting questions.
Yeah, and you know what's going to happen? It's like the second that we're done here, I'm going to be, having a cup of coffee later, and I'll be like, oh man, I should have thought of that one.
Yeah, you're gonna bust out the friggin' like a notebook and a pen
Yeah.
and paper and just
Yeah.
go to work.
I'll get back to you with the afterthoughts.
Okay, you can post it in the comments on once we post it online. You can make the adjustments there.
There we go.
All right.
I'm sure everyone will be on the edge of their seat.
So what's left for you here? Like, I'm guessing you haven't reached your pinnacle yet. What's left for Chuck?
Well, this new venture with the Ghost of Power Beer is going to take me a lot of places. So I'm leaving here in the next week or 2 weeks, and I go off on a tour with these guys over the Northeast, and then we come back and I fly out to Florida, where we're getting on a cruise ship. We're playing this cruise with a bunch of kind of bigger names and stuff, and we're it's called the Cayamo cruise. So I'm going all over the Caribbean. I guess we go to Mexico for a minute, and then we go to Jamaica. But I'm playing on this cruise for like 7 days, and then we come back and we're touring across the West Coast, and then next year in the spring. Sorry, at the end of this year in the fall, late summer, early fall, I go to Europe, and we're gonna play all over there.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, I'm really not looking forward to any of it.
Do you guys have anything in Maine coming up anytime soon?
Yeah, we got a show. It'll be the first show I play with them in Maine. It's actually at Sugarloaf. It's at the King Pine Room at Sugarloaf, which
I've been there. Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah. On February 23rd, I think it's Saturday, February 23rd. I think it's during like the winter break.
Yeah, that'll be good.
I hope so.
If you guys ever do anything in Portland, get big time backstage access. I'll come down. I'll do something. I'll bring Ethan. I'll bring my executive producer. We'll make a show out of it somehow.
I'd love that.
That'd be great. Oh my God. Yeah, that'd be great. Let's make that happen. And then also, if you guys need a DJ to open, usually I don't open. Usually I'm the headliner, but
I see what's going on here.
All right, gonna get to our second segment of the show, the sponsored one, sponsored by our former employers, Rock's Family Diner. Charlito Wonders. Yeah, real quick, what was your go-to meal at Rock's?
Oh man, it's gonna be a hot dog, cheeseburger, and a mix.
And real quick, how would you summarize your days at Rock's? Greatest job you've ever had?
One of them that taught me a lot, man. That really did. I can still recall some of the people's orders like daily.
Yeah.
Just the thought of getting up at 4 a.m. to go open that place up, and like you pull into the parking lot and there's already 6 pickup trucks because they've already been up for 3 hours and they're waiting for the doors to open so they can have another cup of coffee. It's just beyond me. It's amazing. We're an amazing place.
Yep. That's what I want to do when I retire is go back, work at Rocks, and become TT and just fucking flip hot dogs and do that shit.
Dude, that's fucking great. That's a great idea.
That's what I want to do.
I think Tom, we should X the Florida thing with our little Cabana Boy, duo band that you were talking about, and just go back to Rocks and yeah. You do the hot dogs, I'll do the whoopie pies. We're gonna fucking see the light.
Yeah, we're gonna make a killing. That's how we should end it. Anyway, back to the segment. Charlito, big bro, Charlito. What's your question?
Charlie.
What are you wondering?
Yo, what up, Big Chuck? It's Charlito out here in Halifax. Always been my favorite little drummer boy. Y'all, man, you're a good friend. I don't even know where to begin asking these questions. I know something's coming to mind. I got French onion sun chips. I got pulling hair out of your throat, drive through a Dunkin' Donuts. But I can't go into those memories unless you want to elaborate. For real, man, you're doing big things. Where do you see yourself in like 20 years, man? Do you see yourself retired in good old Eagle Lake, Maine with Steph and Di? You can be in Las Vegas with your own show. All right, man, I wish I had something a little more creative, but hey, you're one of the most talented guys I've ever met. Laugh out loud, dude. Hope everything's good. Proud of you, man. Keep rolling. Peace out.
Charlito, bringing the fire.
Wow, really is that. Thank you, Charles, with kind words. I don't wish to elaborate on any of those the previous things. No, not at all. But I will. The 20-year thing. To be honest, in 20 years, I hope to and intend to be doing what I'm doing, man. To just be playing and traveling and trying to make a living at it. I don't have any real desire to be rich or to be famous. I just always just want to be playing drums with a group of people and making other people smile, and hopefully people are still interested and seeing the sights while I do it.
Yeah. Do you enjoy the traveling part of it? I'm guessing you love just going all the places you go.
I do. I love being in a new place, every day for the most part, and I like being able to just have time to walk around a new city or a familiar one. Going back to the same place several times, and you start to like slowly become familiar with different restaurants or bars or places that shops that you like. Oh, last time I was here, this was cool. Or you get to see how like a city will change a little bit if you haven't been back there in a year, or how things develop, and then you start making friends in all these places. So I show up to in New York, or show up in Austin, Texas, and I know like a handful of folks. We make phone calls and just go meet up and have coffee or a cocktail or something, and it's really cool. I'll tell you what, it's never ever boring, ever.
I can see that. I like traveling too. I don't get to travel like you do, but
yeah,
that's the fun part.
Yeah,
That's
well, travel for work. It's just like people. It seems like a constant vacation, but it isn't. It's work at the same time. But there are downtimes where it's like you can do whatever you want. You've got 4 hours between the time you get to the show and you set up and you sound check and everything. And you got 4 hours before you play, so you just wander off and go kind of hang out in other places, and it's cool. It's great.
The segment's called "When You Die, What Jersey Do You Want to Be Buried In?" But it might be what band T-shirt, or what drumsticks you want to be buried with. So you can pick. It could be an athletic team that means the most to you. It could be a band that means the most to you. You pick. What goes to the grave with you?
Man.
Which is tough because you still haven't reached your pinnacle yet. You're still on the up and up right now. But at this point,
I think, you know what? I want to be buried in Charlie Bard's muddy UMFK jersey from that game that they played in the snow and mud, wet, whatever, gross field. That famous photo. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I see it all the time. It's iconic.
I want to be buried in Charlie Bard's muddy UMFK jersey.
Okay.
Final answer.
We can make that happen, I think. All right, so we're going to do things a little different here. So I'm going to do the outro real quick, and then afterwards we'll do all the questions, and I'm going to go back and put the questions in afterwards.
All right.
It's easier that way. So that's going to do it here. That's going to do it for Big Time, the podcast with Chuck. Chuck, I want to thank you for coming through. This is big. We're trying to expand the podcast, not just be so athletic based. We want to just get into good shit with good people, and you definitely fit the bill.
It's a really nice way to say you're picking at the bottom of the barrel, Tom.
It's not what I was saying, but hey, do you listen to the podcast?
I have, man. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a newcomer.
Yep.
I've listened to a few of them, and I got to say, man, this is really it's really an honor to be here among kind of some pretty legendary folks.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you got a lot of road trips coming up here. Big Time was a great way to just kill some time. Just put that on, listen to some great stories.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I sure will.
All right.
I'm hooked for life at this point.
I like it. That's going to do it for this week's episode, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you're checking out all the past episodes on YouTube, on iTunes, and now on Spotify. We're expanding our reach. Check them all out. Check us out next week. Tomas with Chuck. See you next time.